Hello and welcome aboard to this episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to following the entire story of One Piece from the beginning as we focus on one volume so far each episode. So we do try to keep the discussion spoiler-free for new fans, but we also want to make it enjoyable for existing fans of the series. So everybody is welcome aboard. This week we will be covering Volume 3, Don't Get Fooled Again, which covers chapters 18 through 26. My name is Joel, and join me today we'll have Sean.
Hello.
And Evan.
What's up?
All right. So, let's get right into it. Let's go over chapter 18, The Pirate Buggy the Clown. Luffy realizes that Buggy knows red-haired Shanks and wants to know if he knows where Shanks is. Buggy is coy about giving Luffy more information, but Luffy thinks Buggy actually doesn't know whether or not he knows more details about Shanks and calls him stupid. Buggy buckles down and tells Luffy that he wants more information. He has to fight him for it. Luffy accepts the challenge. Buggy pops a blade out of his shoe and launches his legs with a chop-chop buzzsaw that Luffy is able to dodge it easily. With Luffy now in midair, Buggy throws some knives, but Luffy stretches his arm to pull himself out of harm's way. Luffy and Buggy exchange attacks and use their devil fruit powers to dodge. Buggy holds 3 knives in his hand and launches a chop-chop harpoon with his hand. Luffy catches Buggy's arm, but then detaches his hand in a surprise attack. Luffy is grazed by the blade, but his hat becomes nicked. Buggy notices how much this upsets Luffy and makes this his new target. He launches another sneak attack with a detached hand, while Luffy dodges a frontal assault. Unfortunately, Luffy's hat is pierced through. Luffy charges at Buggy and yells that he promised to return that hat to Shanks. Buggy grabs the hat and mocks Luffy as he spits on the hat. He tells Luffy that he and Shanks worked on the same pirate crew when they were younger. Luffy is offended that Buggy would even put himself on the same level as Shanks and deals a heavy blow. All right, so we're getting into the thick of it. We're in the Buggy versus Luffy fight. So who wants to open on this one?
This is the first like real like devil fruit fight. I mean, it was like an opening salvo in the last chapter, but this is where everyone's putting in all like Luffy misses, Buggy misses. They go back and forth a few times, and it's like they're kind of getting a feel for each other's abilities. Like Luffy gets frustrated, like, how the hell am I supposed to hit you? Just keep it detaching. And it's like, you just want him to let you hit him, Luffy? Yeah, you've had it a little easy this far, haven't you? With all people in their not detachable bodies and stuff. But I do love, there's a part where the buzzsaw attack where Buggy pops the knives out of his feet and he detaches his legs and sends it as like a spinning saw is like legitimately awesome. Yeah, like that's actually really cool. I really like that part.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Evan, what'd you think of the fight so far?
I thought this was a great chapter. Luffy, I feel like, starts the fight. He's smiling the whole time. It looks like he's having a blast.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as the hat is cut up by Buggy, I feel like we see him like really mad for the first time. Like this is the first time Luffy's showing like real strong emotions and gets really upset and is no longer smiling and starts taking the fight very seriously.
It takes a dramatic turn.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really cool like seeing the Devil Fruit versus Devil Fruit battle. And they're both pretty experienced with their powers, so that was a very cool chapter. I mean, here's Luffy's expression. I thought that was a great sell.
This is pissed, Luffy. Like,
yeah.
As I wrote down here, Buggy hit the hat button. He shouldn't have done that.
Oh, something I thought was hilarious was when Buggy dodges and he yells, "Chop, chop, quick dodge."
Like, does everything need to have chop, chop in front of it?
Right? Like, I wonder if he wasn't able to get that whole sentence out if he couldn't do a quick evade.
He can only dodge attacks that are like, I can get my move out. I have to be able to say the move, but if it's like too fast, then like I can't dodge it.
Everyone in this whole series from here on out and everything is just committed to the gimmick. And
Yeah.
I do love, like, I almost, is there a single One Piece, like, don't say it, obviously, but is there a single One Piece villain you can think of that's just, like, not committed to their gimmick? They're just, like, trying to get by. Like, they all play for the gimmick as much as they can. There's some that are more serious than Buggy, certainly, but I love how they just, nobody's just doing it to do it. They're doing it with style.
Yeah, for sure. And I do really love when Buggy does the chop chop harpoon, and then Luffy catches like the arm, and
Yep.
then from there Buggy detaches the hand. So like Luffy doesn't expect that. So
Yeah.
that was a really like clever like way to switch it
He's
up.
more
And
strategic than you might think.
Yeah.
Like, he really is.
yeah, so that was like a surprisingly like smart tactic, and one that like really threw Luffy off.
I get
Yeah,
the
I
sense
thought
that
that was
if Buggy had actually committed more and had trained more and had learned more, he could become legitimate threat. Like, his power is pretty cool. It's just a matter of really, really pushing it to the limits. But of course, Luffy at the end straight up kicks Buggy in the buggy balls. So that doesn't
That was
quite work
foreshadowing
out as
before.
planned. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're both going for their weak spots.
Yep.
Yeah, going for Luffy's hat, going for Buggy's balls. Yeah.
I guess the idea was that, yeah, right there. That's a face we all know. There's the idea is that he was like Luffy fighting for his head, so he detaches the head, but he forgets that. Okay, yeah. At first, when I first read it, I was like, "How did Luffy hit? Oh, he kicks him!" Like, it took me a minute, but yeah.
Yeah, and I like how Luffy switched up the tactics here as well, because Buggy was expecting the same thing. So he's like, "Oh, I can dodge it the same way I did last time."
Yeah.
And then Luffy goes for a lower attack, and Buggy was expecting Luffy to go high. So.
Yeah. It is a mad strategy on Luffy's part, but effective.
Yeah, I remember the first
even in his
time.
anger.
Yeah, I remember the first time, like, because I was watching the anime at this point. I remember like when Luffy's hat is like destroyed. Like, I thought that was it. I'm like, wow, he already like lost his hat. Like, this hat's not gonna survive the series. Like, I legitimately thought this was like the end of the hat. But we'll see more of that coming up. But yeah, I was actually worried about the hat at this point in the series.
Yeah, it suffers quite a bit of damage. If he's not careful, it could all come apart. But he seems to fix it pretty quickly.
It's pretty resilient.
Yeah.
It's seen some stuff. Yeah. So far, pretty straightforward. It's mostly an action chapter. Do you guys have any other thoughts on this one?
That's about the extent of it. Buggy's got to pick up his balls now and see where he can go with this.
All right, so let's move on to chapter 19, Devil Fruit. Luffy knocks Buggy over, grabs his hat, and then starts rubbing the spit off on Buggy as he yells at him for damaging the hat. Luffy tells Buggy never to mention Shakes again, but Buggy maintains that he'll say whatever he wants. Nami realizes that she's distracted by the fight, but has a mission to steal the treasure. We transition to the evacuated villagers, who become worried that the mayor hasn't returned. They decide to head into town to check on the mayor. Meanwhile, Buggy begins to divulge the history with Shanks and why he hates him so much. We see a flashback as young Shanks and Buggy are butting heads over trivial matters. Another ship approaches, so their crew boards it to pillage its treasures. Buggy stumbles upon a treasure map and becomes obsessed with finding this treasure. After their successful raid and the crew celebrates their spoils, Shanks and Buggy kick back and talk about starting their own pirate cruise. Buggy remembers that Shanks had initially approached him because they found a devil fruit. The captain said it was up for grabs. Buggy silently thinks to himself that only a fool would eat a devil fruit, but Shanks mentions it's worth a fortune. Buggy's now intrigued and is interested in getting his hands on the fruit so he can sell it. He makes a show of eating a fake devil fruit from the crew so he can keep it. Now, with the devil fruit and the treasure map in hand, Buggy's future is set. Suddenly, Shanks surprises Buggy. He quickly shoves the devil fruit in his mouth to hide it from Shanks, but thinks that Buggy was stealing extra food from the kitchen, so he warns him to stop before moving along. Oh, but the captain said something that Shanks forgot to pass along and surprises Buggy again, who now accidentally swallows the fruit. In a panic, he also drops a treasure map into the sea. Without thinking, he jumps in after it. But now that he's eaten the devil fruit, he can no longer swim. Shanks jumps in and saves Buggy. Back in the present, Luffy sees that Shanks saved Buggy's life, but Buggy sees it as Shanks ruining his life and taking away his chance at treasure. Buggy reaffirms that his goal is now to take as much treasure as he can on land. He flies in on Nami, who's currently stealing his treasure. All right, so we get the Buggy flashback here. We get a little history between him and Shanks and what their deal is.
Backstory.
So yeah, I think this is a little different as to how Buggy obtained the devil fruit. It wasn't really the choice that he wanted to make, and he accidentally kind of got in the situation where he ate it. So he wasn't trying to get a devil fruit.
Considerably different than how Luffy just like gobbled that right up. Buggy had this whole plan to sell it instead. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it turns out that hiding it in his mouth wasn't the best hiding spot.
Maybe not.
Yep. Sean?
No, yeah, it's a good one. I appreciate, maybe it's just me or maybe it's just Oda's art style developing still in these early stages, but I like how I can kind of see like young Shanks looks a lot like current Luffy, like face wise, something like there's some similarities there, and I think that's a cool little like, oh, look at this, look at these. You can see how where Shanks sees himself in Luffy. I was about to say something, but I won't say it. It's like you just swap. There's some Shanks distinctiveness there, but I thought that was a cute little idea, and just the whole idea. I never would have expected. When I first read this, I was shocked. I was like, wait, what? These two idiots were together? Or like one more idiot than the other, it seems like. But it looks like Shanks was kind of stupid back in the day, too, arguing about the North and South Pole. Like, what is that even about? Like, I don't know. It's good stuff.
How about you, Evan?
I think more to what Sean was saying about them kind of like looking alike. I also think that their personality is very similar. And I think you can kind of see maybe Luffy's influence from Shanks, like and on a personality level.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of similarities in that flashback, and it was cool getting a perspective of Shanks not through Luffy's eyes, but through Bug's eyes. So
yeah,
that was cool. Buggy's eyes.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. With Shanks, we get more of a sense of the kind of pirate that he is and how Buggy had more of a focus on treasure. Shanks is more about like the adventuring lifestyle. And that's what was passed down to Luffy. But Buggy was, he had more of a material view of being a pirate, which, he still maintains to this day. And, this looks like it's probably going to be to his disadvantage because in the middle of this fight, we're going to see in the next chapter as well, but right in the middle of this fight, he has the eyes on Nami now. So he's taking his eyes off of Luffy. He's trying to focus on Nami, who's going after the treasure.
I thought this was a great sell. When Luffy has Buggy pinned, and he's just like, don't come apart! And just
he just hits him hard enough that I guess he can't detach again or something.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Some Luffy logic. Also, the little side story of the unconscious crewmates who are just kind of, or pretending to be unconscious. We're having a cool conversation and just kind of analyzing the entire battle and being like,
we'll see more of this later. I always love the crew segments and like a lot of the fights coming up. There's there's another one. There's like at least 3 that I can think of. Like the nameless crew reacting to these giants, these titans of their crews fighting other things is always like a great like Peanuts gallery thing that Oda does, where they're usually like either just trying not to die from like the crossfire or something, or realizing oh god, our awesome captain is losing, or realizing that everyone might die in the process of these titans punching each other. So it's always a great reaction shot, a great Greek chorus that Oda can call upon when he needs to.
Yeah, this was pretty hilarious. Instead of actually helping their captain, they decide, no, what, I don't want to get beat up anymore, so I'm just gonna play dead and
Just
stay out
gonna
the fight.
stay here. You guys have it out.
Like a more loyal crew would probably jump in to defend their captain, and risk their life.
Nope, not with all these
Maybe
knives
try to
and limbs
outnumber
flying around.
try to outnumber Luffy here, but nope, they're just like letting Buggy and Luffy do their thing.
There's a comment by Nami later who's observing them fighting, and she's like, "Am I seeing things? Like, are my eyes deceiving me?"
Yeah.
I also thought it was like really funny at the beginning when Buggy was like getting grossed out when the Luffy's trying to rub the spit off on him. Like,
oh yeah,
it's like, it's your own spit, like you did. Yeah, I just thought it was like a funny little thing at the beginning of the chapter.
Yeah,
good stuff. Is this the episode? Does he hit him again in the balls at the end of this?
Yeah,
chapter?
That's later.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I don't want to skip ahead, but yeah,
that's
I think
right.
it's the
Yeah,
next chapter.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. Is this the Nami loves her treasure, mine? I love that moment.
I think that's next chapter too.
Oh god, did I mark all of this wrong? I'm sorry, guys.
You're off by one, Sean.
I'm off by one. Shut up.
No, I mean at this point, like it is like very action oriented, so it's kind of like it is a little bit easier to blend it together. Yeah, like they're not so like distinct because it's more of like one kind of scene going on. Yeah, and then basically it breaks it up with the cut to basically the villagers who are. It's kind of setting the stage here for the villagers to start making their way over to see what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I'll go.
Again, kind of like in contrast to Buggy's crew, like the townspeople are loyal to the mayor, so they wanted to go in and help them, even though they're going to be at a disadvantage and they're probably not going to be able to do too much against the fearsome pirates. But yeah, they're basically more loyal to their mayor than Buggy's crew is to him. So
perspective change. Yeah, nice stuff.
All right, so let's move on to chapter 20, The Way of the Thief. Buggy notices Nami taking his treasure, so he detaches his torso and flies in to attack Nami. Luffy notices Buggy's legs standing there and kicks him in his family jewels. Buggy calls Luffy out for fighting dirty, but points out that they are still fighting, so he should keep his focus on him. Luffy tells Nami to drop the treasure and run, so Buggy will stop chasing her, but she tells him no way, she will leave the treasure behind. Buggy scolds Nami that it's his treasure, but Nami taunts him. He becomes enraged and splits his body into several parts. Luffy notices Buggy's foot walking by, so he decides to grab it, tickle it, smash it into the ground to stop him from attacking Nami. Nami then swings that giant bag of treasure into Buggy's face. They fight over the treasure as Luffy comes in and knocks Buggy's face to the ground, as the rest of the parts fall to the ground as well. Luffy notices the map of the Grand Line, and Nami begins to collect the treasure now scattered on the ground, but Buggy's not done yet. His head floats up, and as he orders his parts to reassemble, he's noticeably shorter than he was before. Nami tied up the rest of his parts so Buggy couldn't fully reassemble. Luffy finishes off the fight by knocking Buggy away with a Gum Gum Bazooka.
The epic conclusion.
That concludes the fight.
So yes, this is where he kicks him again in the balls.
Again, going for that weak spot.
He really just goes for it. Hey, it worked once, it worked twice, double tap.
It's super effective.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got more stuff, but I don't know.
Mine. So.
Yep.
There it is. Yep.
I mean, I've got more moments, but I don't want to hijack the conversation if Evan wants to start. But.
No, this was a really good chapter.
So there's on page 8, there's a Buggy's face is like he's like approaching Nami. It looks almost like he's detached his eyeballs. I know it's like shadow, but like he looks creepy in the bottom corner. It's like this weird, like it's where like, oh right, I do find clowns kind of creepy finally pops up because he's just been largely silly this whole time. Let me try. I think it's on my manga app, it was like page 8. Yeah, it's when he's saying, "Give me back my treasure, give it back." Unless I am once again ahead of us. Are we in chapter 20 right now?
Chapter 20. Yeah.
Yeah, so it should. Yeah, it's the last big panel. Nami's running away. She's gripping it like a linebacker, and Buggy's coming after her like this demon, and it just looks legit creepy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Yep. I see it.
Oh, did he find it? Okay.
there.
Yep, there it is. And on the left page too, once he starts getting tickled was also weird. But mostly it's the one, yeah, giving back my treasure. Like legit creepy, actually.
Some demonic clown faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Buggy does have some really great faces throughout this entire chapter.
I think there's also a moment, I think, between Luffy and Nami where Luffy's kind of like observing this happening, and when Nami proclaims that like this is my treasure and kind of claims the treasure and fully commits to sticking with the treasure even though she's being pursued by Buggy, I feel like there's kind of like a moment of respect from Luffy being like, all right, I see what you're like, what you're all about, like what your your number one priority is.
Yeah.
You know, she was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been found out." She could have just dropped the treasure and ran away, and been
no. I mean,
but she wouldn't. She wouldn't let it go.
This is character, and like it's great, more character building for Nami. Of like, a lot of other. There's so many. It's one of my least favorite tropes in movies where it's like, "Oh, we got to give up the treasure to get out alive." I'm like, no. me and Nami are on the same page. Like, no, you're greedy if you want to keep it. Shut up. Like, we need this stuff, okay? It's capitalist.
You can put
society.
them in your pocket. Exactly.
That's why the ending. Should I spoil 1999's The Mummy with Brendan Fraser? I don't think I will, but it's a great movie. Watch it. But there's moments I love. It's great character building for Nami. Like I said, of like even the mortal peril. No, this treasure is with me. Is mine. Mine.
We get to see Chop Chop Festival in this chapter, which is pretty wild. Sounds straight out of Sean's nightmares.
Yeah,
disembodied clown body parts flying everywhere.
Clown ham shanks. Pretty great. I don't know how much the tactical advantage of that is at that point, because like some of those are just like sacks of meat. Like they're not even. But I guess if it works for him. Like. It's at the very least distracting. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, what do you hit?
Single target.
Yeah.
Or it's like a quantity over quality kind of thing at that point.
At that point, he's just like, yeah, all right, okay, we're gonna pull out all the stops, including all my body parts, and see how it goes.
I love the look of Buggy when he's just kind of floating there with like his cloak and it's just like his head. Like he looked really cool over there. He looks a bit less cool with the end results, but like before that, he looks pretty cool.
He looks adorable at the end of like the weird torsoless mutant, but let go. No, you let go. I love that too. Yeah.
Are you talking this scene when it's like just the cape and the head?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. That is cool too. Yeah. Kind of like this weird disembodied ghost pilot, but then he comes back to the tiny man.
Oh my god! The tiny man was laugh out loud funny.
It is very funny.
What an amazing cell! And it was like right on the page turn, so you didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
You turn the page and you see that, and you're just like, "Oh my god!" Incredible. Yeah, that was
good stuff.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, as far as the fight is, I do think it's also a little anticlimactic because basically Buggy ends up spending most of the time either attacking Luffy's hat or focusing on Nami. So Luffy can kind of just have free reign and attack Buggy without really much retaliation.
Mm-hmm.
And then he basically ends up winning the fight. Not by force, it's more of like he gets outsmarted and they take advantage of his devil fruit. So I think it is a clever way to basically overcome Buggy, but it's not basically going to end up being like a full-on brawl in a battle of strength.
Yeah,
totally. And it was almost like a team battle with Nami and Luffy, which we haven't really seen until now.
Yeah, because Nami had some shiny moments in here too, attacking Buggy with that bag.
Yeah, and drawing his attention and tying up his body parts.
Yeah,
And then we get to see the Gum Gum Bazooka, which is another new move.
It's a new one for you, yeah.
Is that just like a super intense version of both his hand punch, or is that the idea?
Yeah, it's like he
Yeah.
like throws his arms backwards to get momentum, and then does like a Superman punch.
Yeah, he
Nice.
does like with like both hands,
Yeah,
as opposed to like one arm, which is like the pistol. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. It's almost like his Kamehameha.
Yeah.
yeah, a bit.
Yeah, so that's basically where this chapter
And the
ends.
Buggy.
The end of Buggy. A toast.
Toast.
He made for an entertaining first main villain, I would say.
Hey, you're sure
Definitely
better
favorite
than
villain so far.
Yeah, definitely the best so far.
Definitely number one.
Okay, so let's get into chapter 21, Townies. Luffy triumphantly announces that he won. Nami agrees to join Luffy for now and sees it would be lucrative for her. Luffy picks his hat back up, which is now damaged, but still wearable, so he puts it back on. Luffy wakes up Zoro and lets him know that he took care of things here so they can get going. The townspeople arrive and notice the mayor has been knocked out. The townspeople speculate it must have been Buggy's crew that did this, but Luffy, honest to a fault, tells them that he did it. They are now upset with Luffy, but Nami notes that to herself, at least they won't kill them as long as they don't know that Luffy's a pirate. Luffy tells them that they're pirates. The townspeople are now worked up and begin to run them out of town. As they run away, Luffy tells Nami that they're good people for caring about their mayor so much. They turn a corner, and as the townspeople attempt to keep up, Shushu blocks their path. They tell Shushu to let them through, but Shushu stands firm. Luffy and crew arrive at the ships with the treasure and map in hand, but the super pirates that Nami stole the ship from earlier were lying in wait to ambush Nami when she got back. When they realize that Pirate Hunter Zoro is with them, they abandon this plan and decide to just swim away in the sea. Mayor Boodle wakes up and sees the aftermath of the battle. When the townspeople tell Boodle that they ran Luffy's crew out of town, he becomes furious at what Luffy did. He saved the town. Boodle runs off after Luffy and catches them before they got too far away. He thanks Luffy for everything. As they sail off, Nami is furious to find out that Luffy left a treasure worth 1,000,000 berries, or 500,000 berries, with the townspeople to help them rebuild. Ultimately, they laugh it off. All right, so we have a send-off here. That concludes the Orange Town arc.
Choo-choo to the rescue. Or Chow Chow. Or
Orange Town?
Yeah, Shushu. Yeah, Shushu.
Choo-choo. Yeah. I've got it wrong both times.
Yep. Yeah, so yeah, Evan, what do you think with the conclusion of this arc?
Well, that was definitely my favorite arc so far, with Buggy and the clown pirates. Yeah, this was like kind of like falling action, you know, moving on to the next thing, concluding the Buggy pirate arc.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think Luffy is just hilarious. He's just so, like you said, honest to a fault. Just like,
as long as we don't say this part, saying that part now. Don't worry, I got this, Nami.
He just speaks whatever's on his mind.
I'm gonna step on that rake right now.
Shushu makes a final appearance, which was amazing.
So it's a nice little like payoff with the Shushu.
Yes, I'm glad Shushu came back.
Yeah,
battered and bruised, but standing up for Luffy, who stood up for him. I thought that was really sweet.
Kind of return the favor there.
Faux show.
And then Mayor Boodle with badass Boodle. This guy. Did he like start off? I don't know. I was like very hesitant about him when he was first introduced, but he's become like he became a really badass character and a likable character.
Yeah.
I love how angry he is at how like much he wants to thank Luffy. Like,
yeah,
like, God,
so great.
Get back here and let me thank you.
The audacity.
Yeah, he's mad at the townspeople for like letting the saviors get away. Like they don't know like like what happened, so they kind of trying to put the pieces together.
Yeah, and he's like, no, I'm the only one who could make fun of them.
Yeah. But yeah, like I love that like he, even though like Luffy like knocked him out, like Boodle recognizes what Luffy did. So like he can see the truth of what happened, and he can see past like that minor transgression, because like the whole payoff was basically like Luffy came in and was like basically the savior of the town.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd be under Buggy's rule still, and who knows for how long. Because now they can actually rebuild, and Luffy even like leaves them with the treasure. Like,
Let's say
intentionally,
the closest Navy town wasn't coming to the rescue anytime.
Yeah,
soon,
right.
So
that was so subtle. Luffy was just like, "Yeah, I left it there because you know they need it.
Yeah,
You know? They're a town in ruin, and like they need to rebuild, and I don't know."
Yeah, who heard of a pirate leaving their treasure for the people?
Well,
Like,
here we go.
Yep. And Nami's like mad, but then she also kind of respects it and like shakes it off.
Yeah, Nami has a heart. You know, even though
Yeah.
she's about the treasure, she's definitely focused on that. That's like her main thing. She loves money. She announced it, early in the arc, but she also recognizes like the importance for the townspeople to rebuild and that they need the money more than they probably do right now. So that it's going to a good place.
Good stuff.
And they sail off into the sunset. With the trial of the forest alluded to.
No, the trial of the forest.
What could this be?
We may never know. I'm saying we could. No, I won't do it. I won't do it yet.
Yeah, we'll get into it in a second.
I love the dumbass pirates to try to stop them again. The crew of dumbasses, like, we knew you'd come back. I'm sure we can beat you this time, despite the fact how we failed twice now. And then, of course, the best line in the chapter is just Zoro, "Ow."
Yeah,
he's just like, they're like, well, never mind. I love this. The jump in fear. It's
like I love how Zoro's like basically like completely like incapacitated at this point, and it's still enough to like scare these pirates away. Like Zoro's not in a condition to fight right now.
Look at the reaction too.
Yeah. And then they like just swim into the ocean. Like, they don't like run to the town. They don't like try to like go somewhere like that they're gonna be safe. They just go right back in the ocean. Like,
and meanwhile, I think Luffy punches them into the ocean, doesn't he?
No, I think they just like swim away their own accord.
Oh wow, they do. I thought those speed lines was Luffy. Yeah, they just get the fuck out of Dodge. Like, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a nice little send off. A good way to close out the arc and get us ready for what's to come. All right, so let's move on to the next chapter. I know we've been excited to talk about chapter 22, Strange Creatures.
Here we go.
Luffy is excited that Nami has fixed his hat. You can barely tell it's damaged, though Nami warns Luffy that he has to be careful with it. Approximately 2 seconds later, Luffy has already managed to poke his finger through the hat. Luffy and Zoro realize that they're hungry and ask Nami to share her rations, which shows just how well prepared they are for life at sea. Luffy spots an uninhabited island, the perfect location to recruit more crew members. They disembark to check things out, except Zoro stays behind, probably to guard the boat. No, wait, he's already sleeping. They let Zoro rest so he can recover from his injuries while they explore the island. They encounter a bunch of weird animals that seem to be a mix of other animals. They notice that there's something clearly odd about this forest, but then a voice speaks out to them, announcing that they are the guardian of the forest. The voice warns them to leave right away, or they'll face the trial of the forest. Not heeding the Guardian's warning, Luffy is shot by a bullet. He is able to bounce it away without injury. They notice a treasure chest in the direction the bullet came from. As they approach it, it runs away. It doesn't get very far before it trips and asks them to help it stand up. They introduce themselves to the chest, who turns out to be a man trapped in the chest named Gaimon. Turns out he's been stuck in there for 20 years. Luffy attempts to break him out, but it's futile. His body has grown into the chest, so he wouldn't be able to be separated from it at this point anyway. Gaimon explains he used to be a pirate, so they bond over the adventure to find treasure. Luffy tells Gaimon that he's trying to obtain the One Piece, so they will be heading to the Grand Line. They look at the map together, but both of them realize that neither of them can read it. Nami gives a brief explanation to how this world is made up of 2 oceans that are bisected by a strip of land that wraps around the entire world called the Red Line. There is a town at the center of the Red Line, and a sea route that cuts through that town and around the world longitudinally, which is called the Grand Line. Gold Roger is the only one to have been able to conquer the Grand Line, but Luffy simplifies the task that all they have to do is sail around the entire world. Gaimon warns it's not as easy as it sounds, and that the Grand Line is commonly known as the Pirate Graveyard and is a place to be feared. Gaimon goes on to explain why he hasn't left this island. 20 years ago, his former crew landed on this island in order to find treasure, but all they found was an empty, broken chest. Not ready to give up, Gaimon notices a small cliff and wonders if anyone bothered to check up there. He climbs up and notices several chests ripe for the taking. In his excitement, the cliff edge breaks and he falls down directly into the empty chest below. By the time he woke up, the rest of his crew had already disembarked without him. Gaimon has diligently guarded the treasure in hopes of one day being able to claim it for himself. Luffy offers to go up there and get the treasure for Gaimon. Luffy stretches up and confirms that there were indeed 5 chests up there. But Luffy has a change of heart and decides he's not going to give them to Gaimon after all. Nami scolds him, but Gaimon tells Luffy that he's a good kid. Gaimon realizes that the chests he's been guarding for 20 years were empty. Luffy laughs and says it's a good thing they showed up when they did, otherwise he could have been there for another 30 years. Luffy invites Gaimon to join them on their quest for the One Piece. Touched, Gaimon politely declines and decides to stay here to protect the animals as this is his home now. He can finally enjoy it instead of worrying about the treasure. He sends them off and wishes them luck on their journey. Yeah, so for such a brief story, it was a mouthful.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot packed into this chapter because it's a pretty self-contained chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, I know you have some strong opinions on this chapter.
Honestly, as you recite it, it's less and less. It has some benefits, and the best part of it is like describing the Grand Line and setting up the much more concrete detail on what the Grand Line is about, and just exactly what Luffy is getting himself into. Sorry, I grew up on still the old pronunciation of some people called him Luffy, and that's going to be a problem probably for another couple episodes. But I really am trying.
Yeah, Luffy, I know you were reading it, like since like early days. So yeah. It's different when you read something as opposed to hearing it.
Right. So it shows what Luffy's getting himself into, and Luffy continuing to just be like, oh, whatever, we'll just sail around the entire world. It's like, okay, sure, and I'll ride a unicorn into Valhalla. Like, take it down a notch, Rubber Man.
Yeah, like such a tall task doesn't intimidate Luffy. Like, to him, he's just like, we'll just do it. That's all it takes.
Whatever. Like, it's a stepping stone chapter with a weird dude in a friggin' treasure chest, and it's just, I don't like his face, and I don't like imagining just how terribly he smells. I think that might be what it really comes down to, is just like, get this weird dude away from me. Go live in your weird island I'm gonna be friends with the animals. I'm like, okay, buddy. And thanks for the Grand Line info, and see you later. It's not bad. It is just like, aside from the Grand Line info, this all feels kind of unnecessary. But honestly, it's one chapter. It's not that bad.
Yeah. For me, not having no idea what the Grand Line is, it was like a very informative chapter. So it was really great getting the explanation from Nami.
Right.
And speaking of Nami, it was nice seeing some compassion towards Luffy fixing up the hat. Like, that was a really cute moment at the very beginning of the episode, or the beginning of this chapter. And then these wild animals. A snake rabbit and a pig lion.
Avatar
sounds like straight out of like a Margaret Atwood dystopian future novel.
My favorite part of those animals is how Luffy like sees them as like whatever the secondary animal is, like the features that aren't as prominent. That's what he thinks is like the prominent feature. So he sees like the pig and thinks it's the lion, and like the snake he thinks it's a rabbit.
Yeah. These tiny little jokes are just so good. Like, even in this, it's great. Yeah.
Oh, and there's a cell where Gaimon is reminiscing, and they have the flashback in his afro.
Yeah. That's cool. That's a nice touch. I didn't notice that.
That is a nice touch. I gotta admit, I am warming up to this chapter. You are making me like this weird treasure man more and more as you talk about it.
And then Luffy's moment with like not wanting to drop the chest down, I think that was like a character building moment for him where he shows a lot of understanding and compassion to Gaiman's situation.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, exactly. Because at first it seems like Luffy's doing a thing to be a jerk. Like he does these things because he's had these moments where he's not really sensitive to other people because like he kind of just says what he thinks. So
Right.
at first glance, it might seem like he's just being a jerk. He's not really being sensitive, but he actually is being sensitive by trying to spare Gaimon the disappointment. So he's like, all right, we can keep this guy's dream alive. But Gaimon catches on to what Luffy is doing. So that's a really touching moment that they have there.
Yeah, because he seems like a character that acts first and then thinks about it later. But I think in this scenario, he does show that he is, conscious of what he's doing and makes a very caring decision towards Gaimon's situation.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and like you guys are saying, we do get a first look at the overall world of One Piece.
Yes,
so I know
that was
this
cool.
This like mysterious Grand Line. Like, what is this Grand Line we keep hearing about? So we do have Nami give kind of like a little info dump here. We have like that little graphic to show like how the world looks. So we'll get more details as to what makes up the world, but yeah, basically the main takeaway here is the red line goes around one way and the Grand Line goes around the other way. So it kind of makes like an X around the entire world.
And the red line is a strip of land that like kind of makes like a bridge and goes around the globe. And then the Grand Line it's perpendicular to that line, and circumnavigates the globe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sea route.
Yeah. So you meet the red line at 2 points in the world. So you start the Grand Line at one point of the red line, and then you go halfway around the world, meet the red line at the other end, and then you go around again to get to the other side of the red line. So basically, to get through to get to the other side of the red line, you have to go around the Grand Line around the entire world,
which all coalesces in one city, right? On the red line.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming will be the next destination in this story. Just a guess.
We'll see.
Just throwing that out there. So like if you're going to start, it seems like a perfect starting point for the Grand Line.
It sure does, doesn't it?
Where the Grand Line meets the Red Line. seems like the spot to start.
I'm confident they will not run into anything along the way.
Yeah. Smooth sailing.
Easy.
Straight shot.
But yeah, like what a jerk crew though to leave Gaimon behind like that.
It was a dick move, even for a smelly weirdo like him. But
yeah, it's a little convenient that he fell into the treasure chest right underneath him.
Yeah,
but it's an interesting story. It's a goofy little thing.
Or inconvenient.
Yeah. And that's just been his life for the past 20 years.
That's what he does.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the boxes?
Yeah.
So I think that's about it for this chapter. I think we could move on.
Yep.
It was not as bad as I thought.
Right.
I think it's a nice little.
It was an informative chapter.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I originally, in my brain, it was like 4 chapters. And I honestly totally forgot it was 1 chapter. It's one, it's fine, it's done, yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing is I actually missed it both times. Like I was going through... Okay, so I told you guys I started watching the anime at first.
Yeah.
So in the anime, they have this story take place after the next arc. So what I did was I was watching the anime, and then by the time I switched over to the manga, it was already past the point that was in the manga. And then, so basically I switched to the manga after I was watching some of the anime. So I happened to skip this altogether and didn't realize it was a thing until I saw like a screenshot like later on. I was like, wait, what is this story? And I looked it up and I realized I totally missed it. So I had to go back and watch it. But yeah, it just kind of worked out that way. Amazing. That's where like the timing with the anime, like they kind of do things a little bit out of order in some ways. That's kind of where that kind of messed things up a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it may have seemed like a nothing chapter, but there was like a lot of world building and a lot of character building, I think, in that one chapter.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, so
Iman is
let's.
a weird character, though.
He's so weird, but that's also the great thing about the series is like how like Oda embraces like the weirdness of these characters.
Totally.
Like the whole island is made up of like weird animals and stuff. So it just like right in character with this weirdo. Okay, so yeah, let's get on to the next arc. And we're also being introduced to a new character in chapter 23, the Dread Captain Usopp. Nami points out that they can't enter the Grand Line without a proper ship. Nami points out a nearby village on the map, so they decide to head there in search of acquiring a ship. We cut over to Usopp, a young man in the nearby village. He runs through the town, warning everyone that pirates are coming! Everyone needs to run! Most of the townspeople are unfazed, remarking that's just Usopp again. Turns out, he's just kidding. The people that chase him off, the people chase him off anyway. He just gets to bring a little excitement to this boring little town. His faithful crew members, Pepper and Carrot, arrive, reporting for duty. Onion is late, but he arrives shouting that pirates have arrived. The others think that he's just taking a page out of Captain Usopp's book, but he says it's true. The boat had the mark of Buggy the Clown. Coincidentally, Usopp just remembers that he needs to go to get a snack or he'll die due to his condition. His crew encourages their captain to face the pirates. After all, it's just 3 people. Usopp's confidence restored, they head to the shore to check things out. Luffy is surprised that Nami was right about there being a village here. The Usopp pirates are in hiding, noting that they don't seem so scary until Zoro notices them. Usopp's crew takes off in a panic. Usopp announces himself as a proud captain and ruler of this village. He's backed by 80 million men. They see right through his ruse, which amuses Luffy. They head back to town and get some food to eat. Luffy tells Usopp that they're looking for a crewman in a bigger ship. Usopp explains that there is a mansion owned by a young girl who is bedridden. Both of her parents passed away suddenly, so she inherited the mansion and the servants. Nami decides that they should just leave for another town at this point. Usopp circles back to Luffy's comment about looking for crewmen, so Usopp offers to be their captain. They unanimously decide to decline this generous offer without a second's thought. The chapter ends with Miss Kaya telling her butler, Clawhador, that she wants to see Usopp. All right, so Evan.
Clawhador, that's how you pronounce that?
Yeah, Clawhador.
Right.
This is where watching a bunch of the anime helps me with the pronunciations. At least that's how they pronounce it in the Funimation dub. So that's what I'm going off of.
All right.
But yeah, so what are your thoughts on Captain Usopp?
Oh boy, I did not particularly like Usopp when I was younger. I was like, oh, this guy's just too much of a jokester. He's the most purely comedic character, like even considering Luffy, I think, of the crew, of just being like, I'm the boy who cried wolf is the idea. But on second reading, like he becomes more palatable to me, and he adds a funny flavor to the team. Not that I'm saying he's going to join the team, but no, yeah, you wouldn't have guessed that, would you, Evan? But that he's a character that exists. And I like seeing he has a very dynamic and energetic intro. He's the first one that he's not already caught up in a larger situation. Like Zoro is already caught up in the middle of Axe and Morgan's shit, and Nami's already caught up in the middle of Buggy's stuff, but Usopp's just here, and it's like, okay, he's going to be your introduction to this rather than the objective. They didn't come here looking for him. Like they didn't like. So it gives him a different quality than the other crew members so far.
Did you guys pick up on the Aesop Fables reference right away?
With his name?
Yeah. Do you think that's a direct Aesop reference?
I do, actually. Yeah, I think
I think it's got to be.
Probably.
The boy who cried wolf.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it was a little bit of a spoiler. Like, Usopp is on the box set that I got as like one of the characters on the box set. So like as soon as I saw him, I recognized him immediately and was like, all right, this guy, is here to stay. So I guess that was a little bit of a spoiler from the box set, but his character was a little annoying. He's like all about, keeping it spicy and, making life more interesting for this boring village as he describes it.
Which he sure does.
It doesn't seem like they appreciate it too much.
Yes. Can we talk about the names of his crew members? pepper,
Yes, we can.
carrot, and onion. So, do you think that's a translation thing? I don't know. Like I like having read like Dragon Ball and like having a bunch of names after like random foods. Like I wonder if that is just a translation. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, this one, I do think it's very intentional. If you notice their hair designs, their names are actually representative like of their designs.
Oh my gosh, I did not notice that until right now.
So like
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I guess they decided to style their hairs to live up to their names.
Good stuff.
Wow, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Wow, Onion's head literally looks like an onion now that I look at it that way. I'm used to reading like Dragon Ball where you have like characters like granola and like cereal and stuff and like you know
like, Kakarot,
right.
Yeah. Vegeta. It's like vegetable, yeah. Raditz, like radish. Yeah, there's a bunch of that in Dragon Ball, yeah, for sure.
So do you think that's like a translation thing, or do you think it's a direct reference to the vegetable itself?
Yeah, I think it's a direct translation to the vegetable. Like I was saying, I feel like that's backed up by their character designs.
Yes.
So yeah, I do think it was intentional decision to just basically straight up name them vegetables.
Yep.
Gotcha. That's pretty funny.
Also, Usopp's design is very reminiscent of Pinocchio. He's got like the long nose, and he tells lies. So that's a little on the nose.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, I'll hold for the applause.
I love how they all immediately dismiss him as a potential crew member. Yeah. It was a unanimous.
Specifically the captain.
Yeah, he's like, "I'll be your captain." They're like, "Nope."
It's like we already got one of those.
Yeah.
We're all good on captains here.
We're good.
Yeah.
It's a hard.
But I also love when Usopp makes the excuse that he can't go like face the pirates. This brave pirate can't go face the ones that are showing up, and because he has to go eat a snack.
I can't interfere with my snack.
Sorry, guys. Snack back. If I don't eat my snack, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, if I don't eat my snack, I'm gonna die disease kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, so Usopp is a definitely interesting character. I'm with Sean. When I first was introduced to Usopp, he was a character I didn't really like too much.
Yeah.
So I do think early on, he does feel a little bit annoying. I feel like that may be intentional as well. We see that that's also generally how the other people perceive him. But Luffy is very entertained by Usopp.
Oh yeah.
And just like the fact that like he basically tells like these tall tales. It's not a very admirable quality, but they end up going into this a little bit later on about why he does it. So we'll get more of his motivations for that. But it's an interesting character trait that he has.
Yeah, I think Luffy sees that confidence and kind of like respects it a little bit. But we get into that a little more in the chapters to come. Indeed. And then their relationship develops a little bit.
Yeah.
We only get a glimpse, I think, of Kaya at the moment, or was that?
That's basically what the chapter ends. It cuts to Kaya.
Yep. The pale girl. It's a cliche, but it's not the worst cliche. When we get the shadowy form of the butler. Ooh. And his nose just gets bigger over time, doesn't it, Joel? Like, because right now, like, it's still certainly long here, but it's like, you'll see. You'll see.
His eyes also pop out of his head a lot.
It really does.
He's very expressive.
Yes, very expressive.
Oda's finally like, I have the perfect person to turn to for the gag face now. Like, everyone else has good gag faces, but like this character was made to gag face.
Yeah. But I also love how he jumps to like such like an unbelievable lie that he has 80 million people following him. It's like if you think you had like that many people, you'd maybe bring some of them with you. He just shows up and is like, I got like nobody here with me, but believe me, I got people.
It's totally gonna work out, guys.
Yeah.
And they see right through it immediately. Like, they're not even like, even Luffy's not even fooled by it. Like, all right, so let's move on to the next chapter, chapter 24, the Lie Rejector. Usopp's crew track down the Luffy's to the restaurant in order to save their captain. They face their fears at the risk of being eaten by these vicious pirates. They burst in and demand their captain to be returned to them. Luffy remarks how good the meat was that he just ate. The young pirates think that Luffy must have eaten Usopp. Zoro stares him down and tells him that they just finished eating him up. Terrified, they pass out. When they wake up, Zoro explains that Usopp just said that he had to go. The Usopp pirates realize that he must have gone to the mansion to tell stories to Kaya. Back at the mansion, Klahadore tells Miss Kaya that she shouldn't associate with Usopp. Klahadore explains that it's for her own good and that her parents left him to take care of her. Usopp sneaks over to Kaya's window, which cheers Kaya up. He begins to tell Kaya about his past adventures. Back at the restaurant, Luffy decides that they should go ask Kaya for a ship anyway. They make their way over to the mansion, which causes the guards to become alarmed. As Luffy asks Kaya for a ship, Klahadore arrives and demands that the pirates leave at once. Klahadore confronts Usopp, calling him the son of a filthy pirate. Kaya demands that Klahadore apologize, but he keeps taking digs at Usopp's father. Fed up, Usopp can't take any more and punches the butler to the ground. Usopp shouts that he's proud of his heritage and that his father is a brave warrior of the sea. Luffy suddenly seems to remember something as the chapter ends.
Yep. Things are heating up.
Klahadore,
Mr. Poop Jacket over here.
Poop Jacket.
Yes! Oh my god, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
I also noticed the poop jacket.
That feels
Double
like
doo-doos on the chest.
That's a fashion decision.
It really is. It's 2 scoops of ice cream. It's fine.
Sure.
That feels like a direct cold over of like one of Dragon Ball Z's favorite things to do, of like plop a poop symbol on somebody's face or something like. Klahadore, it seems to be a Captain Class War almost here, so I was not a fan of him.
Little snobby
For sure.
No Alfred Pennyworth, that's for sure.
I think Usopp redeems himself a little bit in this, with his sneaking off to see Kaya and keeping her life interesting by telling these, elaborate stories that are probably mostly based in fiction. But I also think that is this the chapter when they get into the big argument? Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's like the start of it.
Yeah, so I think that at this point, Luffy really resonates with Usopp, because Usopp is defending his father, who is a pirate, and I think that Luffy kind of pictures Shanks as his father, as like very much like a father figure. And like earlier in this volume, he sticks up for Shanks when Buggy is bad mouthing Shanks, and like he stands up and gets really angered by that. And I think in this chapter, he's watching Usopp get angered almost in the same exact way about his father being slighted, and he's getting really angry and ends up striking what's his face?
Klahadore.
Klahadore. I say it out loud and I instantly forget that name. It's a weird name. But I don't know. I think that Luffy sees something in Usopp in that, and kind of, can relate to that.
Yeah, definitely. So just like in the last arc, we saw Luffy basically not like, he basically admitted that he was a pirate. He couldn't like say, "Oh no, I'm not a pirate," to like save himself, even though like he knew it was going to anger like the townspeople. Like Luffy is proud to be a pirate. So we see that same concept with Usopp. to him, he sees being a pirate as something to be proud of, and he's honored that his dad is this great pirate. So Luffy recognizes that, and they have that same kind of mindset. And kind of going back to a point that we're talking about in the last chapter, I think in direct contrast to the other people we've encountered so far with Zoro and Nami, neither one of them had intended to be pirates. But Usopp very intentionally wants to be a pirate. Like, he wants to embrace that life. And he also has that romanticization of being a pirate like Luffy does. So I think they're very much on the same page when it comes to what it means to be a pirate.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I definitely enjoyed Usopp more in this. I feel like I kind of did a 180 on my opinion of him in just this chapter alone, you know. Like,
that was quick.
I went into it being like, yeah, I don't know about this guy, but at the end of this chapter, I was kind of like, all right, this guy's all right.
He draws a line in the sand. Like,
he grows on you.
He grows a lot.
The one thing I'll never lie about my pirate heritage. I'm the son of a pirate. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's admirable in its own. Again, the universe of where we acknowledge that pirate doesn't necessarily mean ruthless murderer of the high seas, where that kind of is what it meant back in the day, or at least certainly IRL is what I mean.
Yeah, in real life, yeah.
But again, like it still looked down upon in the universe because Luffy is the rarity, at least according in the common folks' eyes. A lot of the time, you're not necessarily always a evil murderer. The Luffys of the world or the Shankses of the world are rarer than the Buggies of the world.
Totally.
Yeah, and overall, I think most pirates in this world are going to be the typical stereotypical pirate that is going to be those ruthless, cruel people. But there are also those people who want to be a pirate for the reasons of just like the lifestyle that brings, being like the freedom that brings beyond the sea, just like enjoying like life. So there's more to it, and there's different kinds of pirates out there. So I think this story does a great job of showcasing that. I also love earlier in the chapter when like the Usopp pirates are like basically psyching themselves out about how scary Luffy's crew is, and then like they jump immediately to thinking that they ate Usopp, and Zoro just plays right into it.
Yep, we ate him. We just ate him right up.
That was great.
That was very good. I wish they had stuck with that and like until the end of this chapter, until they find Usopp again. They're like, they fucking ate him. Holy shit. But it was a good gag.
I like Kaya's intro with Fui.
Yeah.
Why don't we say Fui more? Fui's such a great word.
It's a good word.
It's a
now
good one.
we have to start bringing it back.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring back Fui.
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 Yeah, and we get this moment with Kaya and Klahadore. We know that it's like there's like a lot of friction here. So Kaya recognizes that Klahadore, is there to take care of her, but she also gets that enjoyment out of like her visits from Usopp. So Usopp tells these stories that are amusing to her. Usopp saying when like he's only so young, but like when he was like 5 years old, he was out there on the sea, like doing all these things, and like he found the giant goldfish. And
the giant goldfish.
The giant goldfish with giant poops.
The giant poops, yep.
Yeah.
You basically stand on it. Yeah, it's like an island.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, so he goes over and tells these stories to cheer up, and she gets enjoyment out of it. But Klahadore can't see him anything more than a filthy pirate and doesn't want like people thinking badly of her for associating with him.
I think it's funny that Usopp goes over there all the time to this highly guarded, fenced-in mansion that Usopp seems to have zero problems getting in.
No
and
issue.
Luffy also has zero problems getting in because apparently the guards were on lunch break.
Yeah, they don't do shifts. They just all take lunch at the same time.
They all take lunch at the same time. Leaving a huge gap in the middle of the day.
To be fair, I don't think the guards would have stopped Luffy anyway. But
that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bonk. I need a ship. I don't care about consequences at all. It's never affected me and never will.
All right, so let's move along on to chapter 25, Lies. Clawhador accuses Usopp of taking advantage of Kaya for her wealth. Usopp is ready to punch the butler again, but Kaya asks him to stop. Kaya defends Clawhador's intentions as he's just looking out for her. Usopp leaves and says he's not coming back, and the rest follow. After things have settled down, Clawhador brings Miss Kaya her food. She confesses that she feels guilty about seeing Usopp behind his back, but thinks that he went a little too far. Clawhador tells his story about Miss Kaya's parents and how they took him in after he was marooned by the ship that he worked aboard. He feels obligated to protect her from harm to return the favor to her late parents. Miss Kaya is grateful for her butler, but says he's wrong about Usopp. Back in town, the group is hanging around, but Nami knows that Luffy is missing. Usopp's crew says he probably went to the shore where Usopp usually goes after something happens. Once again, Onion comes running, shouting something about a stranger walking around backwards. Turns out he was telling the truth as Django the hypnotist passes by as he does his best Michael Jackson impersonation. Django declares he's not strange, he's just your ordinary traveling hypnotist, but isn't convincing anyone. He pulls out a ring to show his talents to the Usopp pirates, but ends up knocking himself out along with the others. Luffy finds Usopp at the shore. He tells Usopp he knows his father Yasopp. He's actually a member of Shanks' crew. Usopp is surprised to hear his father is on a crew of the great red-haired Shanks. Luffy tells how skilled Yasopp's aim was and how he wouldn't shut up about his kid, Usopp. Usopp is glad to hear how great of a pirate his dad is. They talk about how the butler will ruin his father's good name. Luffy notices that the butler happens to be on the beach down below. He's talking to that strange hypnotist from earlier. He tells Clawhador that everything is in place for their plan to murder Miss Kaya. Dun dun dun!
Subtle.
Unbelievable. Poop Butler, you betrayed me.
So yeah, deep betrayal there.
Well, actually, no. Murder Miss Kaya is just a secret password for big cake for her birthday. Did you get the
Murder her with
Miss
happiness.
Kaya? Murder her with frosting.
It's not as sinister as it sounds, right?
Murder her with I made up with Usopp and now we're best friends. Like,
Oh
yeah.
man, you described Django as Michael Jackson moonwalk, and I don't know how I didn't realize that until you just said
what?
it.
I realized it when I read it when I was like 16 or 17.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed that. He's even standing on his toes when he does the hypnosis, and then
Yeah,
he
he's
has
got
to
the head on
the hat,
hypnotizing
he's got the-
himself every time he does the
it's-
hypnosis act.
I love that.
Hilarious.
Yeah, again, in the anime, he's also basically doing the moonwalk down the street.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm mad at myself for not picking that up.
Doesn't he have like his own theme or something that plays when he like starts walking? Or I swear,
I
maybe
don't
I just
remember.
maybe I just
I feel like it's
imagined
pretty
that,
quiet,
but-
actually, but I don't remember offhand. It's
that
been
would
a
be
while.
funny. Yeah.
But yeah, Django, I think, is actually supposed to be more styled after. Well, I think he's kind of a mix of like Steven Tyler and Michael Jackson.
Yeah, the face is more Steven Tyler, certainly.
Yeah, but he's definitely got like a lot of Michael Jackson design here.
Sure.
Very blatant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go.
He's like standing on his toes in that.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, this is definitely one of the goofiest characters I think we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Yep. And yet, like, the power is effective if he can just not keep doing it to himself.
That's the catch, isn't it?
It is the catch. Probably why he limits to just like sleep and not anything worse than that. But we'll see. And we get the Yasopp flashback, which
Yep.
I think was he pictured in like the background in the first in Romance Dawn?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was having the same thought. I'm like, did I meet this character already?
I don't think he's
It's only
given
been
much
2
detail,
volumes. I feel like I
but
would
yeah.
recognize him, but I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, so like you wouldn't think to look for him the first time through, but I'm pretty sure when I was going back and reading the first arc, the first chapter, I think he's one of the characters. I think his hair is a little bit more subtle, and I don't think his headband says Yasopp, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's there.
Yasopp the gunslinger.
Yep. He's right there in the middle with dancing with the group, and it says Usopp on it. It does.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's
There it is.
page 8 of the big dance with the crew, and yeah, that shows you Oda is planting those seeds right from the very start.
See, there we go. Yeah, so we do have a confirmed member of Shanks' crew, and Usopp seems to be aware of who Shanks is, so that's also a nice little connection there.
Yep.
Shanks' legend grows.
Yeah. First Buggy and now Usopp. Is it Usopp or Usopp? Usopp?
It is hard U. It is
Yeah.
Usopp.
Usopp.
Yeah.
Usopp, yeah.
Usopp.
Yeah, kind of like we were talking about earlier, like when you're reading things, like you don't know how to pronounce things. So
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from hearing like the characters like so much, like just like for so long. A lot of these names are more like on the tip of my tongue, but when you're reading it the first time through, yes, it's not gonna be as obvious for some of these pronunciations.
Yeah. Thankfully, that butler's name gets a little easier soon.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about Klahadore that much anymore, do we?
We don't.
Simplify that. I'll take him being an evil murderer as long as I don't have to say his name. Like,
right?
Okay. And does he ditch the poop jacket? Well, not yet. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. We'll see.
I think that's firm in his wardrobe. I don't think that's going anywhere.
He's just got to open a wardrobe, and it's just a bunch of glasses that slip off of his face, and the same poop jacket. Like that's all he's got.
Yeah, I think he does need to get his glasses adjusted.
Up his glasses. Schwip.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna start doing it from now on too, because mine have been slipping. I think I have to get mine adjusted too, so I'm gonna start doing that.
Well, now you need to say schwip, schwip,
schwip, schwip, schwip. I guess it does prevent thumbprints a bit better, so maybe he's got the right idea.
See, there we go. He's thinking ahead.
He's thinking ahead. But he's also thinking of cutting off Miss Kaya's head. Oh. No.
Yeah, I don't know. Django just like he just entertains me so much. Like I just love how like he's like denying how strange he is. Like he doesn't recognize.
He doesn't feel like he'd be a part of this guy's group. He just because Klahadore is just so clean cut aside from the poop jacket, but like he just feels it clashes in a way that just is a very funny visual. Yes.
Yeah, so we'll get a little bit more of him in the next chapter. So let's go on to chapter 26. Captain Kuro's plan. Turns out Klahadore is actually a former pirate named Captain Kuro. Kuro reminds Django he gave up the name and that Django is the captain now. Usopp recognizes the name Captain Kuro as a famous pirate who was captured and killed 3 years ago, right around the time that Klahadore showed up on this island. Django is skeptical about this plan, but trusts the captain as he's never steered them wrong before. Django is eager to murder Kaya, but Kuro reminds him that it has to look like an accident and only after he has forced Kaya to name her trusted butler as her beneficiary through hypnotism. Kuro explains that he's trying to go legitimate instead of murdering her outright to take her fortune and end up having to go on the run. After all, he's a pacifist now. Luffy wasn't really paying attention, but Usopp realizes the severity of the situation and is now regretting that he punched him earlier. Not picking up on how sensitive the situation is, Luffy shouts down to them not to kill Kaya. Usopp says that they haven't heard anything, but Luffy tells them they heard the whole thing. Usopp takes cover as Django begins hypnotizing Luffy. Luffy falls off the cliff to his death. Kuro says they'll continue with their plan to attack tomorrow at dawn, deciding that they don't have to bother killing Usopp as nobody would believe him anyway. The others now see Usopp running by, surprised that Luffy isn't with him. Usopp continues to just run right past him in a panic. Zoro decides that he'll go off to the beach to find Luffy. Usopp makes his way through the town to warn everyone who is just annoyed at this point. Of course, nobody believes him. Meanwhile, Kuro is on board the ship with his pirates, who are ready to begin their attack tomorrow. All right, so this is where we close out this volume.
Captain Kuro!
Yeah, it's going to be way more memorable.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely brutal that just like we don't even need to kill you. You've established yourself as the town liar and jokester. Like, nobody's gonna believe this shit.
Yeah,
It's
that
so
was
classic too.
brutal.
Like, and
Yeah.
especially after you just got into a fight with him yesterday, which it now seems all calculated of
Yeah.
being like making Usopp look that much more like a doofus.
Mhm.
Like that. Yeah. No, you can say whatever you want, and no one's gonna believe a damn word.
Yeah, I
Except for
think
the people that are not native to the island, which that of course Kuro does not know about yet.
Yeah, for me personally, the first time going through the series, like I feel like this is like the moment where I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Like this was like a brilliant reveal. And I love the way that played out. Like Sean said, it seemed like such a calculated like move because like Claudio has
Mhm.
basically been building up his reputation for like 3 years, and he's been tearing down Usopp. So now like it's all coming to fruition. Even like Usopp knows the information, but he's helpless to stop it. So like he's basically set up a situation where it's going to kind of make him look even more credible now, whereas Usopp is his credibility is now like in the dirt. So yeah, I just think the way that played out was just like really really clever and really well done.
I love the idea of a
I agree.
pirate villain who doesn't want to be a pirate anymore because there's not enough money in it, and there's not like it's too dangerous. I'd rather just live more like comfortably in this like much more subtle, brutal way.
Mhm.
Yeah, like instead of like the life of like being on the run, he gets to like live in this cozy mansion. Like he
Yep.
put in like 3 years of building this up and serving this girl, and like it's a really really well thought out plan, and it makes sense in this context here. But yeah, I think it's funny how he sees himself as a pacifist now.
Pacifist.
Yeah.
Evan, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, we get a new Jolly Roger at the end of the episode. That's exciting.
Got a new one, yeah. We'll see who they are.
Looks like a cat of sorts.
That's a hint.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. I think that was a really clever reveal, and I think it sets it up for a very clever new villain. Curious to see what his crew and his spiel is,
Yeah, we haven't really seen too many tactical villains up to this point.
Right.
A lot of brute force and devil fruit powers, which we don't know that he doesn't. He may or may not have the devil fruit, but nothing visible at the moment. It's just all calculation.
Yeah, like Buggy had like clever, tricky kind of moves, but like it wasn't, I would say, like a scheme or like he didn't calculate things. Whereas we can see Captain Kuro has like this patience he's been building up for all this time, and like we're saying, like he wants to basically get out of the pirate life.
Right.
So that's what it's all building towards. Like he's a man with a plan.
The scheme was 3 years in the making.
Yes.
So yeah, he's got a clear vision.
I can imagine Buggy and Kuro interacting in a very unpleasant manner as Kuro gets increasingly exasperated with his clown horse shit, and just being like, "What are you doing? Just you have the ability to detach your limbs. You could go work at a butcher shop and make a killing. Like I don't know.
It could do something peaceful.
What's this whole clown shtick for? You could afford plastic surgery with all this gold you have. Get rid of the nose. No one would make fun of you anymore. Done and done. But no, you want to be a pirate. I like the poop jacket, Kuro, but that's all I like about you.
Gotta admit, the man's got style.
Now, what do you think about a clown makeup?
Well, game respects game.
It respects game. It leaves you on a great cliffhanger. Like anything could happen here. Like does he? I mean, where does this really pop off? Where does the first strike land? Kaya's throat, the town itself. I mean, seemingly, I love what you said in the description. Like, and Luffy falls to his death. And it's like, oh, I guess
he's dead.
He's dead. He's done. It's over. What is that last panel of him? He's just like
Snork.
Yeah,
clearly means death.
Snork. This boy is just getting some napping in. Dirt napping. No.
Yeah, but they basically just like write Luffy off as being dead at this point.
It's pretty great.
So he's out of the picture. He's not a concern anymore. So
And
nothing
just,
can stop this plan.
I will never get tired of. It's such a basic joke of just like, hey guys, no, don't tell them about our plan. Here's our plan. Don't do that. I heard everything.
Oh my god.
No filter. He's here. He's like, it's such an obvious joke that it's been done twice now, but I still laugh just as hard.
Yeah, so funny.
So
And yeah,
Luffy.
again, honest to a fault.
And then
Yeah.
Usopp's reaction.
Usopp is just like
So
panic
good.
crying. It's just so good. Yeah.
Yeah, Usopp's reaction is the exact opposite. Nope, no, we didn't hear anything.
Perfect.
Don't kill us. Yeah, we're not going to stop you.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Yeah, so this leaves off in a place where, again, we're seeing the trend every volume leaves you wanting more.
Yep. Captain
Yeah,
Kuro
absolutely.
and the cat pirates.
Oh, did they already
Okay.
establish that? Yeah.
Well, no, they
we
just
know
showed the
they
Jolly
have,
Roger, and you get to see
Oh,
some of
yeah.
the crewmates who
True,
have
true.
cat-like
They
characters.
do. They have cat ears on. Yep. They get you there right away.
So that's
Which
really all-
again makes Django like, okay, what, the hypnotist act? You're not fitting with
Yeah.
his gimmick, buddy. You're still clashing here.
He's off brand.
He's off brand.
This
Yeah, he
guy.
didn't get the memo. He's doing like casual Fridays like every day.
You know, he could have done like a cat
He's got,
toy
like,
for his hypnotist thing instead, but
that
no,
worked.
that could no.
Speaking of
He's
cat,
very
my
much
cat's
his
like
own
going crazy on
character.
this
He even
window over
has, like,
here.
that- he even has like an Egyptian pharaoh chin.
Yeah, just seems totally out of nowhere, but it somehow pulls
Yeah,
it off
so random. Little identity crisis there, but
just a bit. But we'll manage. They'll manage. We'll all manage.
All right, so
Here we
let's
are.
get into some rankings before we wrap up.
Oh yeah, here we go. Here we
Okay.
go.
Okay, so we don't have too much to rank yet, but so far we have two arcs. We have the Romance Dawn arc and we have the Orange Town arc.
did they ever mention that it's actually called Orangetown ever?
Not in the text so far,
Yeah,
but it was like in
Maybe
other
watching it the
resources they
first time
confirmed
I
it was
heard
Orange Town. Yeah. So like I was saying, like in the last episode, as a translation error, because like with Japanese they don't
Right.
have the
Port
distinction
town.
saying the port town.
Mhm.
So usually it would leave like the off, like there wouldn't be like that wouldn't be part of like the phrase. So when they saw port town, it was just meant to be like a general descriptor, not the name of the town. So yeah,
Got it.
so we're officially going to be using Orange Town, and the Romance Dawn arc will basically be the first few chapters. So like the first chapter, and then we can lump in like Alvida and Captain Morgan into that. So right now, I don't have anything prepared for like graphics wise because we're not really having too much yet. But I figured we can just kind of say which arc do we collectively think was better. Did you like Orange Town or Romance Dawn? Like the beginning few arcs, the beginning few chapters. So, Sean, what would you say you like better?
So we're not including. So we're not. These are arc rankings, not villain rankings yet.
Yeah, right now it's just arcs. We'll go into villains in a second.
I mean, they both have their charms, I'd say. But I think, I mean, Romance Dawn is that including Morgan or?
Yeah, so basically everything before Buggy, we'll say is part of the Romance Dawn arc.
I think I'd put Romance Dawn just barely above Buggy, just because there is that nostalgia factor for me of really getting back to the meat, to the beginning of this whole story. And there's so many great panels even in Romance Dawn, and I mean, so much is built off the back of a single line from Morgan. I'm so great. Again, it's still, it might
That's an
still
all-timer.
it might still be in my top 10 favorite lines in all of One Piece, like up to far beyond what Evan has read. It's damn close though. They're both really solid. but I think I'll give the edge to Romance Dawn by a hair's breadth at the moment.
Okay, Evan, how about you?
Well, I get what Sean's saying. I feel like I don't have the nostalgia that he has, but
That's
I
valid.
do love like a good intro. Like I love the introductions to the characters that you get in Romance Dawn, and like the building of the crew. I definitely think the best fight sequence was in Buggy's arc. I think the Buggy scene, even though it was a little anticlimactic, now that I think about it, it wasn't quite a head-to-head with Nami kind of stepping in and distracting Buggy and making it less of a one-on-one battle. It's a tough question. I think I might side with Sean and also give a slight edge to Romance Dawn, just because like Zoro's introduction and Nami's introduction, I think that those core characters and the building of the team was like a very special moment in the series so far. And I do think Buggy's final boss battle could have been a little more, I think we could have seen a little more one-on-one Devil Fruit versus Devil Fruit action than we did. But still a very good arc. I mean, yeah, they're very close. They're neck and neck for sure.
Okay, so you're giving it to Romance Dawn?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, to me, like, there's no such thing as a bad arc in One Piece. I don't know if that's going to stay true for everybody. But to me, it's all great. So I do love the world building in the beginning of the series. Like the first chapter is a great introduction to what we're getting into. We get some really interesting characters with Alvida and Morgan and Helmeppo. I love Helmeppo. And then we do get Zoro. I love the introduction to Zoro and his character. But to me, I would give the edge to Orangetown, because I do love like all the Buggy stuff. Buggy, I think, is such a great villain. He's such like an interesting design and personality. The way everything plays out with him. And yeah, like I was saying before with you, Evan, like I do think the fight is a little anticlimactic, but it's also fun in a different way, where it's not just a straight up battle of brawn. It is more of like a goofy kind of fight, but like it feels a little bit more high stakes than the previous fights we've had. Also the Shushu stuff, to me, again, that always gets me, like, every time. I love Shushu.
Yes.
Yeah, so that stuff to me just puts a little bit over the edge, but yeah, I do think it's close. It could go either way, but I'm gonna give it to Orangetown. But we'll officially put Romance Dawn as number 1 right now, and we'll put Orangetown as number 2. And as we go along, I'll have basically a display for each of our rankings. We can have our personal rankings and we can have our group rankings. So you can kind of see where we stand and compare it to how we overall decide on each arc.
Yeah, it is a tough judgment, because I definitely think Buggy's absolutely my favorite villain so far, like you said. And I think the lines that Buggy had definitely made me laugh out loud more than any other villain. And the character design was on point, and the Devil Fruit was creative and fun. Yeah, it's a toss up. It's tough. It's tough to choose.
Yeah, so on that note, right now, Buggy will be our only villain that we'll put on the ranking. I feel like Alvida and Morgan are a little too inconsequential to be considered like a main arc villain. As much as we love those characters, especially Morgan. For the purposes of ranking the villains, I'm going to omit them and put Buggy as the only main villain we've had so far. So right now, Buggy is number 1, and he's going to be at S rank.
Morgan is a close number 2. Sorry.
If we were ranking, Morgan would definitely be
great. He's so great, Joel.
I am great.
He's not my number 1, but he's so great. He's so great. I get you.
Okay, so let's wrap it up there. So yeah, before we sign off, so Sean,
where can one more subject? Sorry, before we.
Yeah, go ahead. Your closing thoughts.
So Luffy's name is Monkey D. Luffy, right?
Yeah.
have they referenced Monkey one time, or do they ever reference Monkey? It seems like it's been totally dismissed as even a part of his character or like a part of his name or his identity at all.
So the way that the Japanese naming is would
more
be
like his
that
last name.
yeah, it's like his
That
last
would be
name.
like his last name. Yeah, I was thinking that too because I know that last name does come first in a lot of traditional Japanese like naming convention. So
Yeah.
I was curious.
Yeah. So we get the same with like Roronoa Zoro. You know, Zoro will be his first name.
Okay.
It is referenced later on. It's talked about. You'll hear it more directly mentioned later.
I just find it such a unique name for it not to have come up once in the first couple of volumes. I'm like, how is this not a thing?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't come up too often. It does come up on occasion. But yeah, they usually just call him Luffy and they usually just call Zoro.
Mm-hmm.
Some characters don't have last names. At least none
Nami.
that are been confirmed. Nami's just Nami.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get more characters in the future. But yeah, that's typically how the naming convention would go.
Yeah, that was my only comment. I was just curious.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Why we haven't heard Monkey?
It is weird that it's not been like it's there, but not a focal point of any kind yet. But you'll see.
All right.
Sean, how about you? Any closing comments?
We are getting to the good stuff. We got past Gaiman and his smelly goddamn treasure chest torso, and we are moving on, and I'm excited.
To the Grand Line. I feel like we got some Grand Line plugs in this.
We're getting there-ish.
Yeah, we got a little bit. A little ways to go. But, you know, it's on the horizon. All right. Well, yeah, Sean, where can people find you?
It's Twitter, Samael76.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so if you want to follow Sean there, he's got some good stuff there. And I go by Pirate King Codex. You can find me on YouTube and on Twitter at Pirate King Codex. I'm making One Piece content there. Right now I'm focusing more on the One Piece trading card game. Have some content hopefully coming out on that soon. I have some gameplay footage I want to get up there. But yeah, in December we'll get more of the actual release for the first set in the US. So kind of looking forward to that and going to be building up towards that. So stay tuned.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to bring along all of your hopes and dreams, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See y'all.
See ya.